My name was Ahmad. I was an Imam, a figure of respect and authority in my community. I led prayers with a firm hand, guiding others through the traditions I believed embodied truth. Yet, beneath the surface of my serene exterior, darkness loomed. There was an emptiness gnawing at me, a silence in my soul that reverberated with questions I dared not voice. Then came a night like no other, during the Fajr prayer, a sacred moment meant for connection and devotion. In that hallowed stillness, I was swept away into a profound realm of darkness. It was there, in the vast emptiness of my fear, that a blinding light pierced through. A figure appeared before me. Jesus. He called my name, and in that instant, everything I thought I knew about faith began to unravel. He unveiled the truth, a spiritual war that transcended the traditions I'd clung to, a reality hidden beneath the noise of politics, of society, a battle for the very souls of humanity. I realized then that my devotion had been misdirected, serving not a higher calling but a veil of control, obscuring the pure love and freedom he offered. This was no mere vision. It was an awakening, shaking the very foundations of my existence. Returning to my world, I faced a reality drenched in rejection, a community bound by silence, a family held hostage by tradition. I was no longer Ahmad the Imam. I was a pariah, a heretic in search of redemption. But with that rejection came a relentless pursuit of the truth, a truth that led me to Jesus, a truth that set my spirit free. In this video, I will share the raw and unfiltered story of my incredible journey from despair to hope, the journey that transformed me and now calls you to listen. Prepare yourself for revelations that may challenge everything you've been taught about spirituality and purpose. Before we begin, take a moment to comment below. Where are you watching from? And what time is it right now? I want to feel the pulse of this truth reaching you. And if you feel a stirring in your heart, if you love Jesus, subscribe to Truth from Beyond. Because what I'm about to reveal isn't just my testimony. It's a lifeline, a guide to the freedom and love waiting for you on the other side. In a vibrant multicultural neighborhood in Manchester, the amalgamation of various religions and traditions created a rich tapestry of life. As a young Imam, I had always felt deeply connected to my community and the Islamic faith that shaped my identity. The early morning Fajr prayer was a time of profound reverence, where silence and devotion coalesced. Yet even amidst the hum of worship, I began to feel an unsettling void, a stirring of unease that whispered truth, but was drowned out by the noise of adherence to tradition. My role as a leader demanded obedience, but increasingly, I found the questions in my heart pressing for expansion. The tension grew as I prayed fervently for guidance, feeling an oppressive weight settle upon my soul. Once a source of comfort, prayer transformed into a battleground, where deeper notions of faith fought against the rigid expectations of my surroundings. I sensed the spiritual war raging within myself, the desire to understand more pulling me away from the traditional confines that defined my life. The fear of branded curiosity loomed large, as questioning the doctrines of my faith and the community I cherished felt akin to stepping onto treacherous ground. Yet my heart longed for a deeper connection, a truth that transcended the conditional acceptance I feared losing. Then came a night that would change everything. During Fajr, as I bowed in prayer, something shifted. In that stillness, I was enveloped by a radiant light that cut through the darkness of doubt. Suddenly, I found myself in a different realm, a divine encounter. Jesus appeared before me, luminous and compelling. Hassan. He called, and with that simple address, my soul felt ignited with recognition. In his presence, the world around me faded as revelation unfolded like a scroll before my eyes. He spoke of the hidden agendas that exist, manipulated by the elite who wield power over nations, religions, and hearts. I was shown how these agendas delude the masses, keeping them in cycles of fear and division. As images flooded my mind, I saw the impact of these deceptions woven into the very fabric of society, politics failing its people, communities fractured by misunderstanding, and the relentless pursuit of power ignoring the essence of our shared humanity. Jesus revealed truths about the spiritual war that extends beyond any single faith, emphasizing love and unity over division. The awakening within me felt profound. I realized that I could no longer remain silent nor complacent. I had to confront these hidden truths both in myself and in the world around me, embracing the calling to stand for the truth that transcends all barriers. When I returned to consciousness during that Fajr prayer, the light lingered in my heart, but I was faced with the stark reality of my life. The comfort of the congregation filled the air, yet I felt an acute sense of isolation. How could I reconcile these newfound revelations with my life as an imam? The fear of being cast out by my community gripped me. The thought of being labeled a heretic by those I sought to guide filled me with anxiety. Still, as I delved deeper into the teachings of Jesus, I found an unwavering resolve to seek connections with others who might understand this journey. I began to see my mission clearly, to share the truth, to love unconditionally, even if it meant risking everything. The world needed awakening, and I could no longer ignore that calling. As I stood at the front of the mosque in Manchester, preparing for the Fajr prayer, the weight of my responsibilities as an imam felt heavier than ever. I'm Ahmad, 35 years old, respected and known in my community for my wisdom and discipline. My prayers were meant to be a source of solace, a way to connect with God, yet an unsettling void gnawed at me. Despite my fervent faith, I often found myself grappling with feelings of emptiness and a lack of purpose. I was caught in a whirlwind of contradictions, held between the teachings I loved and a growing sense of dissatisfaction that lingered just beneath the surface. In the stillness of those early mornings, when the world was quiet, my thoughts would drift to darker places. I questioned everything. Was my devotion simply a product of expectation? Did I truly know God? Or was I merely following a path laid out for me by tradition? These questions haunted me, and I kept them close to my chest. Speaking them aloud would mean acknowledging that my faith felt like a cage, barring me from experiencing a more profound, spiritual truth. I knew I had to dig deeper, yet the fear of straying too far from the doctrines I had spent years practicing held me in place. One fateful night changed everything. I fell into a deep sleep, only to wake in a realm unlike any I had ever known. A void where time seemed irrelevant and reality was stripped away. It was here that I encountered Jesus, standing radiant and powerful. "Ahmad," he called, and the moment I heard my name, everything within me stirred. This was not merely an encounter. It was an invitation to step beyond the fears that had kept me shackled. As he stood before me, I felt enveloped in an overwhelming love that shattered my doubts and fears. It was as if he was offering me a glimpse of the truth that transcended my understanding. In that divine space, I experienced a series of revelations that opened my eyes to the spiritual war we face daily. Jesus revealed the hidden agendas that manipulate souls, showing how the elite exploit religion and politics to create division and fear among people. I saw the suffering caused by ignorance and misunderstanding, how easily we become pawns in a game designed to keep us disconnected from one another and from the divine. The truths I witnessed were staggering. I realized that our struggles were not isolated but part of a broader fight against deception. With each revelation, I understood that I, too, had a role to play in this war. When I awoke from that extraordinary experience, I found myself back in my own life, yet everything had changed. The burden of expectation from my family and community felt like chains holding me back from fully embracing the call I had received. I understood that I could no longer live in silence, nor could I deny the truths that burned within me. The very essence of Jesus' messages, love, truth, awakening, became a fire that I felt compelled to share. How could I navigate the complexities of my identity and faith while openly confronting the manipulations of society? The stakes felt high, but the urgency of my mission pushed me forward, driving me to break free from the confines of conformity and step boldly into a life rooted in truth. During my quiet moments of prayer, doubts began to surface, manifesting as a desolate emptiness that seemed to expand within me. I am Ahmad, an Imam in Manchester, a role I've embraced with reverence and commitment. Yet, with each Fajr prayer, I found myself grappling with an unsettling sense of disconnection from the faith I had always cherished. While I went through the motions of worship, my heart felt distant, as if the words I spoke were mere echoes without substance. The rituals that once filled me with peace now felt monotonous, as if a curtain had been drawn, obscuring deeper truths I longed to discover. As the days turned into weeks, these feelings intensified, bleeding into my dreams. I would wake in the dead of night, drenched in sweat, haunted by visions that left me trembling. In these dreams, I felt lost in a vast expanse, surrounded by shadows that whispered doubts and fears. I could sense a reality hidden beneath the surface of my consciousness, and I began to suspect that my adherence to traditional religious practices was leading me away from the very truths I sought. It was as if a spiritual war was waging within me, pitting my deeply held beliefs against a burgeoning curiosity that demanded to be acknowledged. One particular night, the dreams took a more vivid turn. I found myself standing in a dark hallway, each step echoing eerily, as if leading me towards something monumental. Then, just ahead, a brilliant light broke through the darkness. As I approached it, I felt a warmth enveloping me, melting away the fear that had clung to me for so long. In that light stood Jesus, his presence radiant and welcoming. "Ahmad." He called out gently, and hearing my name washed over me with relief. In that moment, everything else faded away, my doubts, my struggles, my fears, leaving only a profound sense of belonging. Jesus began to share revelations that shook the core of what I understood about faith and existence. He revealed the hidden agendas that lay behind the veils of religion and politics, exposing how those in power, those we consider the elite, manipulate belief systems to maintain control. Through his teachings, I saw how easily truth can be obscured by deception. I understood the societal fractures that resulted from this manipulation, the wars, divisions, and conflicts that challenge our humanity. In those moments of revelation, it was painfully clear that this was a spiritual war not just fought in individual hearts, but on the global stage, affecting millions. As I returned to consciousness from this transformative encounter, I felt an overwhelming urge to share what I had witnessed. I understood that the truths I had encountered weren't merely for my own enlightenment. They served as a clarion call to action. Yet the fear of rejection gripped me tightly. Would my community accept these new ideas? Would my family understand my transformation? The thought of being ostracized loomed large, yet I felt the urgency to speak out, to become a voice for those caught in the web of deception. As I prepared to face the challenges ahead, I realized my path was now entwined with the mission to awaken others, revealing the truth that could set them free. I was determined to navigate this spiritual war, seeking not only my own redemption but the liberation of others ensnared in darkness. As I knelt for Fajr prayer, I felt a profound stillness envelop me, a moment when the world faded into silence. Yet, beneath the surface of that calm, a tempest raged within my heart. I am Ahmad, an Imam who had dedicated his life to guiding others in faith. Yet I was struggling with a deep sense of emptiness. The routines of prayer and worship, once filled with meaning, now felt like a performance devoid of substance. In that quiet moment, an unsettling feeling overcame me, whispering that there was more to faith than the traditions I had followed. Suddenly, I slipped into a trance, my surroundings dissolving into darkness, and I found myself in an expansive, barren desert. It was a stark, empty landscape that mirrored the void I felt inside. For a brief moment, despair threatened to overwhelm me. Then, out of the darkness, a radiant light burst forth, illuminating everything around me. As I squinted against the brilliance, a figure emerged from the light. Jesus, radiant and full of love. Ahmad. He called out, and the sound of my name reverberated in my ears. In that moment, I felt every doubt and fear wash away, replaced by an indescribable peace. In the presence of Jesus, I was enveloped by revelations that felt like striking lightning. He began to speak of a spiritual war waged not just in the heavens, but here on earth, one that ensnares our hearts and minds with deception. I was shown how the elite manipulate societal structures, crafting hidden agendas that fuel division, fear, and suffering. Every image that slipped into my mind revealed the extent of the struggle facing humanity, the relentless impact of manipulation that often goes unnoticed. I recognized how many live their lives shackled by false narratives, blissfully unaware of the forces at play. With each revelation, I felt a sense of urgency swell inside me. The truths I encountered were weighty, and I understood that my awakening went beyond my own experience. It was a call to action. I realized the deep-seated struggles within my community were rooted in a lack of awareness, and that my voice could be a beacon for those seeking clarity amidst the chaos. Jesus' message to me was clear. He asked not just that I receive this truth, but that I share it, igniting the light of awakening in others who were lost. The repercussions of such revelations hung heavy in the air, yet the desire to speak out against the hidden agendas that divided us transformed my fear into determination. As I emerged from the trance, I opened my eyes to the familiar walls of the mosque, but everything felt irrevocably changed. I was filled with a fire to share the truth I had received, yet the fear of backlash from my fellow believers and family loomed ominously over me. The very traditions that had once comforted me were now sources of conflict, and I realized that my pursuit of truth might be met with hostility. I was now on a path that required immense strength and courage, knowing the stakes were high. Could I fulfill this calling despite the potential cost? This spiritual war was just beginning for me, and I knew I had to muster the courage to confront it head-on. Upon returning to reality, I felt as if I'd been thrust from a realm of divine enlightenment back into a world of shadows. The moment I opened my eyes, the comfort of that radiant encounter with Jesus faded quickly, overshadowed by the starkness of my surroundings and the weight of rejection that loomed over me. I am Ahmad, an Imam in a bustling Manchester community, and the burden of my experience now sat heavy on my shoulders. As I shared my revelation with those closest to me, I was met with harsh accusations of heresy. Their disbelief cut deep, plunging me into an internal crisis that echoed with guilt and loneliness. Every face I encountered reflected a mix of anger and disappointment. My family, who had always supported my path in faith, now looked at me as though I had betrayed them. The traditions I had upheld, the doctrines I had preached, suddenly felt like chains that kept me from the truth. In the midst of their rejection, my heart ached. I found solace in the idea that my encounter with Jesus was meant for something greater. Yet here I was, isolated from those I loved. I wrestled with the emotions that surged through me, struggling to grasp the significance of my experience in the face of such overwhelming rejection. As I spent time in quiet reflection, the memories of my near-death experience flooded my mind. In that moment of divine connection, Jesus had illuminated the hidden agendas that manipulate our world, the elite pulling the strings, causing division and suffering among humanity. I witnessed the fabric of society unravel as I understood how deception was wielded as a tool of control. The truths revealed to me became an urgent calling to engage in the spiritual war that raged around us, but I felt paralyzed by the fear of what sharing that truth might cost me. How could I advocate for awakening when the very foundation of my faith felt precarious? The tension within me mounted as I sought to navigate my newfound identity. The journey toward embracing the truth I had found alongside my role as an imam was fraught with inner conflict. I tried to return to my regular duties, leading prayers and offering counsel, but my heart was no longer in it. The weight of my experience clung to me like a shroud, suffocating my once vibrant connection to faith. Each time I stood before my congregation, I felt a sense of longing for a more authentic connection. Not just to God, but also to the community I had always cherished. I yearned to guide others through their own awakening, to challenge the deception that flowed through the structures of our lives. In my solitude, I began to seek out others who had walked similar paths. Through online forums and discreet gatherings, I connected with individuals who understood the urgency of the spiritual war we face. Sharing my experience, we formed a bond rooted in our shared struggles and revelations. We discussed the implications of the truths we had uncovered and the importance of confronting the hidden agendas that stifled our growth. Each conversation filled me with renewed purpose, reminding me that, despite my family's rejection, I was not alone in this fight. I sensed that our collective awakening could be the spark needed to challenge the powerful forces keeping us in darkness, and I knew that my journey had only just begun. As I began my secret journey to explore Jesus and Christianity, each day felt like a leap into the unknown. My name is Ahmad, and as an Imam, I had dedicated my life to guiding others through the teachings of Islam. But there was an undeniable longing in my heart, a whisper that urged me to seek deeper truths. In the back of my mind, I could hear the doubts growing louder, accompanied by the fear of losing everything I had known. Yet, the hunger for understanding compelled me to watch videos and read the Bible under the cover of darkness, hiding my quest from those I loved. In those quiet moments, the teachings of Jesus captured my attention like never before. I found solace in the idea that his message emphasized love, acceptance, and awakening. The first time I read the parable of the Good Samaritan, I felt an awakening within me, a stirring that resonated with my innermost being. Jesus' call to love one another transcended religious boundaries, challenging the societal norms that often divided us. As I absorbed these lessons, I became more aware of the spiritual war waging within my heart, a battle between what I had been taught and the deeper truths I felt emerging from my soul. Despite the peace I found in this exploration, the fear of losing my family and community haunted me. During my prayers, the words felt different. I prayed for guidance, yearning to reconcile my newfound beliefs with my Islamic upbringing. I felt like I was straddling two worlds, wrestling with the tension between the religion I had practiced and the spiritual truths I was discovering. My devotion to my faith began to feel like a double-edged sword, as the very rituals that once comforted me now seemed to contain hidden agendas that obscured the love Jesus preached. The deeper I delved into both the Bible and online discussions with those who had undergone similar transformations, the more I sought to connect with this awakening. I came across testimonies from former Muslims who spoke of their journeys, their struggles with family acceptance, and their ultimate peace in embracing Jesus. Each story resonated with the fears and uncertainties I carried. This connection fueled my own desire to share the truth I had uncovered, to stand against the deceptions that keep so many in spiritual bondage. I recognized that we were all part of a much larger narrative, a spiritual awakening that was desperately needed in today's world. I felt the urgency growing within me as I prepared to confront the fears that threatened to consume me. I could no longer remain silent, not when I had felt the love and truth Jesus offered so profoundly. Each day reinforced my commitment to my purpose, the realization that I was meant not just for one belief system, but for advocating love and unity amidst the chaos of a divided world. I knew the road ahead would be filled with challenges, yet the truth I had experienced illuminated the way. The spiritual war one had witnessed demanded action, and I was ready to embrace the risks that came with fully stepping into the light of my awakening. Acknowledging that my experience had a purpose beyond myself became a turning point in my journey. I am Ahmad, an Imam who had committed my life to guiding others in faith, but after my encounter with Jesus, everything changed. I realized that the truths I had uncovered weren't just meant for my own awakening. They were a calling to witness, to alert others to the deeper, hidden aspects of spirituality that often go unnoticed. It was as if I had been gifted a revelation, one designed to cut through the layers of deception that cloaked ordinary lives in fear and misunderstanding. As I immersed myself in the lessons Jesus had shared with me, I felt a surge of energy propel me toward my new mission. The spiritual war one had sensed before my encounter now felt tangible, a battle not only for my soul but for the souls of countless others who remained unaware of the manipulation around them. I couldn't shake the urgency that pulsed within me. It was clear that the hidden agendas of the elite sought to maintain control through division and fear, tactics that had worked for centuries. My heart burned with the desire to illuminate these truths, to break the silence that had kept so many in spiritual bondage. With every story I heard from those who had also experienced awakenings, I felt my commitment deepen. We shared our struggles openly, discussing the societal constructs that fostered disconnection and division among us. In these moments of vulnerability, I felt empowered, knowing that our collective voices could challenge the status quo. This awakening was not just personal, it was a unifying force, urging us all to pull back the curtains of deception that obscured the transformative love Jesus offers. Yet, with this mission came the realization of the risks I faced, not just from society but from within my own family. The thought of sharing my journey with them filled me with both hope and dread. Would they understand the depth of my experience, or would they classify me as a heretic? The anxiety of potentially losing my family weighed on me, but it also fueled my desire to fight for the truth I had come to embrace. Choosing to walk this path meant embracing uncertainty and facing the judgment that could come from those who still clung to the traditions I was beginning to question. I knew that this spiritual war would demand courage beyond what I had ever exhibited before. As I dedicated myself to sharing my testimony, I felt a transformation ripple through my spirit. I began to view every interaction as a sacred opportunity to shed light on the hidden truths I had become passionate about. Jesus' message of love became my compass, guiding me as I navigated the complexities of my new identity. I felt empowered to confront the forces of darkness that perpetuate fear and deception. Each encounter with someone skeptical was a chance for me to speak life into their despair. The urgency of this mission echoed in my heart, propelling me toward a future filled with the promise of awakening, not just for myself, but for all those around me who longed for truth and connection in a world rife with division. The path ahead was uncertain, but I was no longer afraid. In a symbolic act of freedom, I made the decision to leave my home behind, a choice that felt both liberating and terrifying. I'm Ahmad, a 35-year-old Imam who had dedicated years to serving my community, instilling faith and leading prayers. Yet, as I stood on the brink of this new chapter, I felt a pull towards something greater, something that transcended my understanding of faith and duty. The transformation I had undergone during my encounter with Jesus had ignited a fire within me, a desire to share my newfound faith and the profound truths I had uncovered. Leaving my old life was not merely a physical departure. It was a shedding of the layers of expectation that had defined me for so long. I felt the weight of my decision as I walked through my neighborhood, every step tinged with both hope and sorrow. Memories of my family filled my thoughts, their expectations, their pride in my role as an imam, and the love they provided. Yet in leaving, I also recognized the hidden agenda that had kept me bound. I could no longer ignore the spiritual war that waged inside me, the battle between conformity to tradition and the call to embrace the truth that Jesus offered. As I ventured into this new world, I sought to connect with those who were also searching for deeper meaning. I began engaging with groups who had experienced similar awakenings, and each meeting felt like planting seeds of hope in barren soil. Sharing my testimony brought me comfort, even as I navigated the murky waters of doubt. The stories I encountered mirrored my own struggles. Individuals breaking free from the deceptions that sought to keep us divided, ensnared in a cycle of fear. I felt a kinship with these seekers, a realization that together we could challenge the narratives that the elite use to manipulate society. In every discussion, a deep urgency emerged as we examined the ways spirituality intersects with the complexities of the world. We spoke of the hidden agendas behind our political and religious institutions, of how deception ensures the elite maintain their grip on power over the masses. Each revelation felt like a piece of a larger puzzle, and I recognized that my mission was listening and sharing, breathing new life into the truth that had once been obscured. With every word, I felt fortified, encouraged to speak out against the injustices we saw everywhere, to spread the awakening that I had experienced. Yet, despite the hope I felt in the community I'd begun to form, the fear of losing my family and being cast aside was an ever-present shadow. I longed for their understanding, for them to see the love and truth I had discovered, rather than just the labels of heresy and betrayal. This internal struggle served as a reminder of the very real consequences of my spiritual journey, revealing the depths of the conflict I faced. As I continued down this path, preparing to share my truth far and wide, I understood that each step required a deep well of courage. I was fully aware that standing for truth in the face of deception meant I had to confront the significant risks ahead. But the light of Jesus illuminated my path, guiding me forward into the unfolding mystery of my awakening. Years after that transformative experience, I dedicated my life to a new mission. Each day, as I rose for Fajr prayer, I felt a renewed sense of purpose pour over me, buoyed by the revelations I had received from Jesus. My journey from the depths of confusion and fear to a place of clarity and conviction had become more than a personal awakening. It was a calling to impact lives and guide others on their own spiritual journeys. I realized that the truths I discovered were meant to be shared, not just hoarded in silence. The spiritual war one had encountered was far from over, and I felt an overwhelming obligation to help others navigate their own battles. I began to meet with people from various backgrounds who sought deeper understanding and connection. Each conversation revealed pockets of turmoil, often born from hidden agendas and societal manipulations. These individuals had experienced their own awakenings, but many still grappled with the chains of doubt and fear. I became determined to be a source of encouragement for them. Together, we would explore the intersection of faith, spirituality, and the hidden deceptions that shape our reality. I would share my story, speaking candidly about my encounter with Jesus and the profound truths that altered my perspective. Yet within my heart, the need for reconciliation with my family and community remained a constant ache. I often reflected on the sacrifices I had made. As I embraced this new identity, walking away from the traditions that had once defined me, I couldn't help but wonder if my family would ever understand the depth of my experience. Would my parents and siblings ever accept the path I had chosen? Their silence weighed heavily on me. It was a reminder that breaking from tradition often led to isolation and pain. The yearning for connection, for their recognition of my spiritual journey, sometimes overshadowed the joy of my newfound mission. Despite these challenges, each person I met reinforced my resolve to forge ahead. The stories of others who had embraced similar awakenings inspired me, a collective understanding that the spiritual war we faced was greater than ourselves. In our gatherings, we would discuss the manipulation by those in power, the elite, who perpetuate fear to maintain control over the masses. The truth we discovered together was a unifying force, reminding us that love and light could triumph even in the darkest circumstances. The urgency to spread this message was palpable, a call to action that resonated within each of us. As I moved forward, I understood that my path was fraught with risks, yet it was a path I had to walk. I could no longer ignore the powerful pull towards speaking the truth, even if it meant facing backlash. The drive to awaken others and share the message of Jesus pushed me beyond my limits. I felt an undeniable urgency to act, to reveal the truth in a world saturated with deception. I was ready to face the consequences of my convictions, embracing the calling to evangelize, share hope, and ultimately help others find their paths to truth and spiritual freedom. Each encounter became a piece of a larger puzzle, a testament to the awakening that is desperately needed in today's society. In the serene moments of Fajr prayer, as the world outside remained still, I found my heart heavy with questions that haunted me in my quietest hours. I am Ahmad, an Imam dedicated to my community, yet deep inside, I felt an unsettling void. For years, I had adhered to the teachings of Islam with devotion, but a discomfort had grown within me, casting shadows over my faith. Each time I prayed, I couldn't shake the feeling that religion, at its worst, could become a tool of control, keeping us confined rather than liberating us. There was a yearning for something beyond the traditional boundaries, something that promised truth and freedom. One night, my prayers took a turn, leading me into an experience that shattered my understanding of faith. I drifted into a deep, unconscious state, and the next thing I knew, I found myself in a desolate landscape, a vast desert devoid of life. Confusion set in as I wandered through the emptiness, feeling the weight of despair and isolation. It was in this dark place that I suddenly encountered a radiant light, illuminating the surroundings and filling me with warmth. As I stepped closer, the figure of Jesus appeared before me, his presence overwhelming yet profoundly comforting. "Ahmad," he said, and in that moment, every doubt I had felt slipped away, replaced by an all-encompassing peace. In this divine encounter, Jesus began to unveil profound truths that transcended the boundaries I had known. He spoke of the hidden agendas that manipulate societies, revealing how the elite use power to create division and deception. I saw visions of conflict and struggle, of communities torn apart by lies, and the contrast between those driven by love and the forces that sought to sow discord. The revelation was jarring, and I understood that the spiritual war was not just external but deeply rooted within each of us. Jesus' words resonated as he urged me to awaken, to confront the forces that kept people shackled, blinded by the very beliefs meant to guide them. As I returned to the waking world, the weight of my experience pressed heavily upon me. I felt a mixture of dread and urgency. The realities I had witnessed were undeniable, yet sharing them would force me to confront the fear of being ostracized by my own community. The thought of being labeled a heretic by family and friends was terrifying, but the truth I had seen left me no choice but to act. I realized that my calling extended beyond my personal awakening. It demanded that I become a beacon of light for those still struggling in the shadows of spiritual deception. Determined, I started reaching out to others, navigating their journeys, sharing my experience with those who had also felt the stirring of curiosity within their hearts. In connecting with like-minded individuals, I discovered a community dedicated to unveiling the truth together. Our conversations flowed with urgency as we explored the implications of the deceptions we had witnessed in our lives. We discussed the power held by the elite, the manipulations that shape our world, and how these hidden agendas keep us from experiencing the love and unity Jesus preached. Each story shared became a part of a larger tapestry, interwoven with the desire for awakening, a collective call to action that resonated in the depths of our spirits. Now that you've journeyed with me through the darkness, I implore you to pause and reflect. Have you ever felt a profound calling that both terrifies and excites you? A whisper urging you to look beyond the veil of societal norms and expectations? Because when I encountered Jesus, I saw the truth that burns beneath our everyday experiences, a spiritual war that transcends every tradition and religion. My heart still aches as I recall the moment I was torn away from the comfort of conformity. I was not simply speaking of faith, I was ignited with a mission to awaken those who remain in the shadows of manipulation and fear. We reside in a world filled with unseen strings manipulating our lives. It is our duty to ask, what lies have we accepted? What truths remain buried? You too are invited to challenge the narratives that have shaped your existence and join the fight for unity and love. I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt an echo in your spirit or a moment that ignited a search for deeper truths? Your experiences matter, and sharing them could foster a new awareness in someone else. Please drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. This is a space for connection, for awakening, for understanding we are not alone in our struggle. If this message resonates with you, as I truly hope it does, don't forget to subscribe to Truth from Beyond and turn on the notification bell. You don't want to miss what's coming next. The journey of awakening we're on is just beginning, and we'll explore even more compelling testimonies that unveil profound truths waiting just beneath the surface. I'm Ahmad, and it's been an honor to share this piece of my journey with you today. Remember this: truth is relentless and seeks those willing to listen. Keep searching, keep questioning, and let the light guide your path. Until next time, stay blessed.